Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Honor everyone's time. I don't have a lot today, but I'm anticipating lots of questions. So everybody can hear me okay? See the PowerPoint okay? Good. All right. So we're going to talk about curriculum mapping. I know that I've shared that it's coming your way. My plan is to work with downtown and central campus in January. So my goals for today is for you to help you understand why curriculum maps, what's going on, what we're doing, and kind of get a picture of it. So feel free to pipe in and ask questions as we go. What, when, and how to complete. Students will have a better idea of what, when, and how to complete. I don't know if you've heard yet, but once we move to CTC Link in May, students will be able to enroll themselves. So as we're putting all of the courses in, we need to be sure to set up prerequisites because students are going to be able to just put themselves in any old thing if there aren't prerequisites. So that's part of curriculum mapping as well. Okay, so I want to give you an inside view. This is not a map. Let's see. Over here, here we go. Okay, and I will reduce it down so you can see it. You won't be able to read it, but you'll be able to kind of see the big picture here. Oh, thank you, Sharon. I think you already have you guys already have some of your stuff mapped. So this is welding. I've been working with South Campus, and part of the reason I chose South Campus is because almost every program on South has introduction to welding in common. No matter what program you take introduction to welding. And so if we were doing curriculum maps dispersed all over, we could end up with Liberty teaching having, you know, a load of students in fall and spring and nothing in winter and summer, which is actually what was going on. It was feast or famine for him. So in mapping, then we could make sure to balance that out. So a number of programs, there are some downtown. I think there's only one on Central and a good share of South Campus. Programs we're offering every course every quarter. And those of you who have tried that know that that makes for a crazy town for the instructor and students aren't getting the attention they need and people lose their hair and burn out and all of those things. So part of this process is kind of narrowing down what we're doing. So what you see here, this is kind of our key. So we have a key for fall start for welding. If you start in the fall, here, you're going to take the orange courses first, and those are your introductory courses. So you're going to take safety, welding symbols, introduction to shield, metal arc welding, and oxyacetylene cutting. Then you are going to go to winter is this yellow group, welding 201, 202, 203. And then in the spring they have a choice. They can either do wire or SMAW. Don't ask me what that stuff means. I just put it in the map. But those are specialties. So you can do one or the other of those. Then based on the map, we're going to go in the summer, we're going to go to green, which is flex core, welding, whatever, and then coming back up to fall, we are going to do purple, which is the 201, 205, 206, and in winter they're going to do blue, and they can graduate, or if they want to add on a 7th quarter, they can do the other choice and have their degree plus a certificate. So AS degree is one of the two, AS plus a certificate is both of the two. So they were one of the programs that was offering every course every quarter. They have 3 instructors, but it really is 1 during the day, 1 at night, and then Liberty only teaches introduction to welding. So it's 1 and 1. So Jesse and Eric were literally trying to teach every course, every quarter, and maybe only had 1 student or 2 students in each course. Now they have it narrowed down where they're teaching 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 courses. 13 is still a lot in the fall, 13, but it's not every course. So same thing for winter, it's narrowed down even further. So they are staggering when they're offering, and students can move around. Also notice that they put in prerequisites. And that's something that we are using this process to establish prerequisites so that students aren't enrolling themselves in something they shouldn't be enrolled in. So, I mean, most of our 200 level courses, we don't want students to take until they have the basic safety principles, right? I mean, especially in something like welding. So welding 101, the safety is a prerequisite for everything, pretty much everything beyond that first quarter. They are doing entry every quarter. Some programs are, some programs aren't. We haven't had anybody change yet. We're going based on what they already have established and then just tweaking it. So we are not going to completely rewrite the rhythm of what you're doing. I have a map similar to these, a draft made up based on your program of study, but it's not designed to tell you what you're going to teach. You're going to tweak it and make it work for you and your students. Okay, so this is definitely a faculty driven thing. So let me see, what else do we have here? So we have the map. This is a map that faculty advisors, deans, and their admins will look at. So this is going to make it really easy for course construction. It's going to make it easy for you to do your planning. One of the things that I'm going to add, our item numbers are going to be different once we get into C2C Link. I am going to add, now welding is much different than, let's see, I pretty much have everybody from downtown here. So say Sharon might teach, a 101 course hybrid, and she might teach it 100% online. Different item numbers, I'm going to put both of those in there so that whoever the next dean is and their admin know to load both of those courses and what quarters to load both of those courses. So so some of your maps are going to look bigger just because you offer the same course multiple times with different modalities. Does that make sense? Okay. So these little keys up here show fall start, winter start, spring start, summer start, when you can take gen eds, and then the options here. And then I have a note section for the admins or advisors, any information they need to know. So like for auto body, they wanted 2 courses that are loaded every quarter because they're a small certificate that people can just do whenever. So they want those loaded every quarter. So we put that on a note on here. Also, we have the fees on here. So again, the idea is to have one document that everyone can use to do course construction, planning, all of those, everything is in one document. Now, the next thing we're doing is obviously trying to get everyone's maps finalized, but then we want to develop something that's easy for students to understand and gives the same amount of information. So we have a couple of different ideas floating around. Chelsea is going to create something. This is just kind of my little draft. So this is something that a student might see on the web page for your program, and it would have each start. So, and again, and this isn't finalized, this is just kind of me messing around with things. But if a student was going to start welding AAS, these are the courses they would take each quarter. That's how many credits they would take. And then if they wanted to do the optional extra for the 7th quarter, they could. So it doesn't give item numbers and all of that stuff that they don't really need. It just gives the really basic information. Here would be the winter start. And again, Chelsea and I have thrown some different things around. We're going to meet a few times and see what we can get up on there. But a lot of, so the programs of study, some of them sort of show it, but it's super confusing. Whereas if I just said winter start, here's what you do. Fall start, here's what you do. For students, just something really simple for them. They can also then see when courses are offered when they're planning their path. So that's the spring start and summer start. Okay, here's another one that it's similar to what another school did. I don't like this one, I don't know. And I'm sure that, no, Sharon says, no, not this one. Chelsea is amazing. She'll come up with something really great that's very obvious for students, and we can run it by faculty and see. But this is the same information lined up in a different kind of a graphic. Johnny really wants to have something interactive, which is like, whew, that's beyond me, but that's what we pay someone else the big bucks for, right? So they could put in this, you know, I want to enter in fall and it would populate, or enter in winter and it would populate for them instead of going to what theirs would look like. Okay, so I went through kind of the whys and the whats, and there's a ton more. So one of the first things is curriculum mapping is part of guided pathways. And a big reason for the guided pathways is for equity and inclusion, so that everybody has access to the information and it's really clear and they can plan their childcare, whatever they need to do around their schoolwork. So why the students, advisors, and faculty can see which courses are offered by quarter. So that's something we didn't have on the curriculum map, on the programs of study, is which, I mean, some of them sort of made it clear. I think broadcasting, video broadcasting was the most clear that these courses are only offered this quarter, but it still can be pretty confusing to people. So by quarter, you can see. So if I fail a course, I can go look at when can I take it again. The maps that are on the back end, our end, contain a lot more information. So the admins and deans and faculty don't have to go to 6 different documents to find the information they need. So things like what room, who the instructor is, what modality, the item numbers, the prerequisites, everything is on the one document. Again, the vision, Johnny really wants to make it interactive, which I think would be great. If a student fails a class, they can see when it's offered again. Maps are not named POS. And I've heard that a lot of times. I mean, just flat changing the name, I think, is a good thing. So yeah. And then students, advisors, faculty can see courses by when they start, fall, winter, whatever. So that's really clear based on when they start. And then programs of study have kind of hidden prerequisites. You know, talking to faculty, we don't have things necessarily in the catalog for prerequisites, but talking to instructors, they'll say, oh yeah, you have to take safety before you can take these other courses, but it's not documented anywhere. And so with this, it allows us to have a tool to document that. And then we're actually going to use the maps once they're completed, send the map through curriculum and assessment, And those prereqs and modalities will be approved through curriculum and assessment. So we won't have to do a ton more paperwork, but we can get those prereqs added so that hopefully they're ready for CTC Link when we go live in May. Okay, that is what I have in terms of my PowerPoint. I know you have questions. Throw them at me.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Did you, and I apologize for missing the first couple of minutes. Did you cover the section where it has students are, I don't know the terms, but if they're going from one department to another department, or they sign up under a department, they have some sort of nomenclature that identifies them as being that department. But if they switch, they have to change, to be more accurate in our tracking, we need them to switch. How is that facilitated, or is that a topic for a discussion later?
That's a great question, Tim. You always give me really good questions. I believe that I don't know if CTC Link is going to restrict them. I think we have to get approval for them to switch in CTC Link, but that's a really, really good question. With mapping, where the map connects with CTC Link is where that would happen. Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Part of that is a situation. I currently have a student that's changed programs, and I just became aware that he is still identified as being in the other program, and so it was requested if I could try to help him facilitate re-identifying.
Yeah, that's really important. Well, and then there are some courses that are named very similarly that are in different programs. For example, blueprint reading. I think we have blueprint reading in like 5 different programs, but they're all different. You know, I mean, reading a blueprint as a machinist is way different than an electrician, right? So that case,
maybe schematics and technical drawings.
Yeah, I don't know, but that would be something that would be, I could see that confusing students. And it needs that right prefix. So I'm going to find out about that and get back to you. Thank you for that question. What else? Sharon, are you offering every course every quarter?
I am until my enrollment gets better. But no, I prefer fall and spring because I don't want to be like the program that has to teach everything all the time. That's, to me, is craziness. And you don't really do the students justice, in my opinion, when you're teaching that many classes. So to me, what I have seen and from others is a 2, like a fall and a spring start date, to me works much better.
And of course, you could do a start just like what welding had. You could start every quarter, but then if your curriculum is something where you can flip-flop, or maybe they can take gen eds one quarter or something like that, then the other things you don't have to offer every quarter.
Yeah, you have to come up with a way. And so I think, Mary, you're on to something really good. And I do like it listed on our webpage, because it gets really confusing for students when they don't know what they're going to be taking next. And if they had that map to know, I know when I was taking my master's, they had it right there. It was plain. I knew what I was taking each quarter. And, I knew when it was offered. I was able to map my whole, degree out by having those visuals. And we have never really had one. And where everybody is different, it makes it really hard, I assume for the advisors to know, uh, are you offering this at that time? So a good clear map where people can visualize and everybody's on the same page. And then that course construction, we get tired of turning that in every single quarter. It's like, geez, we didn't used to have to do that. And I'm sure it's a pain for the admins
Oh,
to,
God.
to do it every quarter. So again, if they had a visual, it just make it easier all the way around.
Right, and the modalities is one of the things that in CTC Link, they have to build a page for each modality. So if you offer the same class 3 different ways, they have to build it 3 different ways. So,
Yeah.
so this, like, people changing modalities just kind of on the fly isn't going to be able to happen, which is why I'm trying to get it all in the map. So that if that's something you want, then that's something they'll load and it'll be something already built. To see, yeah, there is so much work that's done by admins and deans for course construction, and it'll take us a couple of quarters to teach students out, the ones that are in a different path. But once they get them taught out, it would just be, Sharon, are you sticking with your map this quarter? Do you need anything extra? Good, let's go. That's it. It should be easy. And if you're getting curriculum changes, whatever, then we just refresh your map and move on from there. So it should be, once we get it done, it should be a pretty streamlined process.
Well, and I also wanted to bring up to the rest of you, I just brought up a thing this fall where I'm teaching both online and face and hybrid. Because veterans cannot take online classes. They don't get their funding. So I've worked it out where I'm teaching the same class pretty much, but I'm meeting with the veterans a few times a quarter to make it a hybrid, and then they can get their funding. So yes, it's a pain for someone to have to develop, 2 different modalities in the system, but that's how you can accommodate both the students that only want to take online and our veterans that cannot take online. They'll lose their funding.
Right, and as long as we get it done up front and aren't just switching on the fly, then it's developed, and that's not a problem. And we're all about what's best for students, right? Or we should be. So yeah, Bill, great question. Who will coordinate when Gen Ed courses get offered? So I'm sure you've all heard that according to Guided Pathways data, students should complete their Gen Ed courses within the first year, the first 4 quarters. So we're trying to make sure that that's happening in the maps. It's not always possible, but we're working on making sure that's happening in the maps. And then which courses, when they're offered, how they're offered is, Josh is working on trying to do, I think, Bill, you probably know better than I do. I want to say it's like a 1-to-2 or 12-to-1, something like that window where every student has off and they can do their gen eds, he even has a name for it, where it's standard, so that because there has been some issues with students not being released by their instructor to go do their gen eds. So 1-to-2, thanks, Tim. Yeah, so there's that vision, and then it will be up to the gen ed people and Josh of which courses, which quarters, and whatever. So we'll kind of map you guys separately to make sure we're accommodating students and everybody to get those done. Great, thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Other questions? You got 2 minutes. How are you feeling about this? Are you feeling like you're okay with it? Good, good. Okay, well, I'm coming to you in January, so I think we'll probably do something in the auditorium where we'll just all sit down together. And like I said, I have your draft maps already done, and then I'll send them to you and you can move them around and do what you want with them. And then hopefully we can get them going for, kind of start teaching people out like spring and summer. And then by fall, hopefully we're close to running just on the maps is the plan. So thank you guys. I appreciate all of you and your great questions. I think all of you know I'm available for questions or help or whatever, whenever you need it.